Dear friends, welcome to Infos. Welcome to Oil and Gas Training. Uh, in this video, we are discussing about process safety management part 3. Already we are completed part 1 and 2, basic elements. In this video, we are discussing two elements together: capital project review and design procedure, and process risk management. Welcome to this video. So, capital project review and design procedures. You know that on any capital project we need detailed preparation. So, let us see what are the elements covering in capital project review and design procedure. A capital project is distinct from other company projects as it is large in scale, high cost, and require considerable planning relative to other investment. Capital projects often refer to infrastructure like a road or railway, or in the cost case of a corporation, the development of a manufacturing plant like our refinery or fertilizer plant or gas processing plant, etc., coming to hydrocarbon industry like a capital project. Project control provide a meticulous approach to managing risk. So project control is very important to minimize the risk or eliminate maximum risk involving in capital projects. So review of the project is very important. By early identifying risk, monitoring risk continuously, and developing contingency plan to address and mitigate issues, it become possible to reduce impact on budget and schedule. So it also helps to prevent some risk from happening in future. So risk analysis is very important in capital project. Early identifying, monitoring, and mitigating or preventing risk is developing in future also. So various elements in capital projects, one by one we will discuss. That is number one is appropriation request procedures. The approval process of a new capital project should ensure the request has identified a potential risk together with the capital and other resources necessary to manage those risks. This approval is very important. Approval process of a new capital project should ensure the request has identified a potential risk together with the capital and other resources necessary to manage those risks. Process safety review must be satisfactorily completed at appropriate stages for the project to proceed. So project safety review also satisfactorily completed. 3.2 is hazardous review. Hazard review. Hazard reviews ensure potential risk associated with the hazardous material and energy have been identified that adequate capital and other resources are made available to minimize exposure to those on site, the public and the environment. So hazardous review is very important elements in capital project review. So it will ensure the potential risk is identified and adequate capital is producing or allocating on to minimize the exposure to public and environment. It's very important. The scale of review required will depend upon the hazardous of the proposed process and also the stages of the project, since the more intensive review techniques require information which becomes available only at design proceeds. 3.3 Citing of a proposed expansion of a new plan should consider the following factors. So where will be the site coming, the various factors should consider. One is buffer zone between plant and public area. Worst credible scenarios for release of a toxic chemical, explosion of fire and effects on exposed groups, exposure of hazard to and from adjacent plant or facilities, possible exposures due to natural events such as earthquake, flood, tornado, etc., effect of transportation of hazardous material, feedstock, or product through local communities. So these all factors should consider to locate a proper site area for starting a new capital project or a new plant if it is a hydrocarbon industry or hazardous industry. Plot plan 3.4. Here are the proximity of equipment and storage of hazardous materials are evaluated. A plot plan review should include congestion, example overlapping hazard zone, difficult access, possible confinement of vapor release, location of control room, offices and other permanent and temporary building, storage area, hazardous chemicals, feedstock, feed product and finished product storage area, loading and unloading area, drainage and containment, other process areas, potential for off-site impact, insurance requirement, federal and provincial and local regulations. Country to country, the regulation can vary little. So these we have to consider taking in consideration. Company or industry spacing guidelines. So these are the various points for considering plot plan. 3.5 is a process design and review procedure. The design process should include a system for review and approval which appropriate sign off at each stage of design process. Normal stages are conceptual design, process design, detail engineering design, construction and commissioning. These are the normal design. Conceptual design and process design may be taking care in design office. Detailed design engineering also somewhat it will take in design office plus site. Construction and commissioning is completely taking place in site oriented. The depth of each review will depend upon the complexity and degree of hazard of the process. 3.6 Project management procedures and control. These controls ensure fabrication and installation of equipment correspond to design intentions. So here, once design finish and construction start, so these elements will consider the control of risk and hazardous conditions in commissioning, construction and commissioning time. A key control is the pre-startup safety review required before new or modified facilities are put into service. Minimum requirements for this review are confirmation that construction meet design specification, ensure safety, operating and maintenance and emergency procedures are in place and adequate, confirm that a process hazard analysis has been done and that recommendations have been resolved and implemented prior to startup, confirm that modified facilities meet the management of change requirements, ensure necessary training has been completed, ensure critical equipment has been identified and incorporated into preventive maintenance program. Project management control should be documented and form part of the project file. So these are the important elements to be considered in project management procedures and control. So element 3 project capital project review is discussing various points there. We have seen that one. So now fourth element we will discuss projects process risk management. In the picture itself, you can see some of them assessing your risk, prioritizing your risk, figuring out your risk profile, choosing your risk strategy, execution, and measuring. So, various factors are there. Let us review what are the various factors in detail. So, process risk management. The risk management process is a framework for the action that need to be taken. There are five basic steps that are taken into manage risk. These steps are referred to as the risk management process. It is beginning with identifying risk. I told you that we just seen that picture in previous screen. Same thing. Identify risk goes on to analyze the risk, and then the risk is prioritized, a solution is implemented, and finally the risk is monitored. So these are the various important steps. Some steps are there, but the important steps we will discuss. In manual system, each step involves a lot of documentation and administration. In process risk identification, process risk management, one of the important element is hazard identification, first element. Let us see that. The most important step in process risk management is hazard identification. If hazards are not identified, they cannot be considered in implementing a risk reduction program nor addressed by emergency response plan. For a quick guide to the hazardous rating of a site and assessment techniques that can be used, see the reference 4.A. This is the reference, a quick guide to identifying process hazard and flowchart, available on PSM revision website. You can follow up this one. This website you have to go for that one. You will get all reference on this one. There are several methods of for hazard identification, such as what if. These are the names which are using for tools which we are using for hazard identification. Checklist, HAZOP, hazardous and operability study, then FEMA, then bow tie analysis, then LOPA, then fault tree analysis. These are the various analysis tools we are using to hazardous identification. We will take this one in a later session. Let us in detail in later sessions. We can review what is HAZOP, checklist, what if, etc. in detail. See reference 4D, which explains this reference, the techniques and example of how to use them, these hazard identification tools, and also provides a detailed checklist in the appendices. Let us see that one. This is the reference. You can use that one, guideline for hazard evaluation procedure, third edition with worked examples. These are the using this link, or you can use this copy and paste in Google. You can find it out for review for this hazard identification tools. The DOE fire and explosion index and DOE chemical exposure index, also two references are providing here. Here it is there, both references are there. You can use for your future references. So 4.2 is a risk analysis of operation. Once hazard have been identified, the risks are estimated from the potential consequences and the likelihood of occurrence using qualitative and or quantitative methods such as fault tree, event tree, risk indices. These are the risk analysis we can conduct using fault tree and event tree and risk indices. So this also we are giving as a reference here, risk assessment recommended practice for municipalities and industry. So in the PSM division website you can see this one. It's a big area to be considered, but document will be a large one. So, if you have interested or you are working in this area, starting referring or this type of website and documents for understanding more and more or this type of risk analysis. 4.3 is reduction of risk. Following risk evaluation, steps must be taken to reduce those risks which are deemed unacceptable. Such steps might include inventory reduction, alternative process, alternative material, improved training and procedure, protective equipment, ensuring that items identified from hazard and risk analysis are closed off, etc. Definitely, we have to consider these type of point to reduce the risk. Inherent safety is an important tool in reduction of risk, is an approach that eliminate or greatly reduces hazards by design the process. Strategic decision typically must be implemented early in the process design but are inherent, passive, and thus less prone to failure. Tactical decision can be implemented late in the process design but are characterized by repetition and high cost. Being active and procedural in nature, they need continuous supervision to remain effective. Inherent safety is therefore best applied in a hierarchy. One is minimize, use smaller quantities of hazardous substances. Substitute, replace a material with a less hazardous substance. Moderate, use less hazardous condition, a less hazardous from a from a substance or facilities which minimize the impact of the release of the hazardous material or energy. Simplify design procedure and facilities which eliminate unnecessary complexity and are forgiving of operating errors. So these are the inherent safety tool or we can consider element we can consider to minimize the risk and potential effect on that. Residual risk management. Since risk cannot be completely eliminated, plans are need to be control the residual risk of incident occurrence within acceptable limit and mitigate effects should an incident occur. It is vital to document the rationale and resolution of all recommendation. There should be a written emergency response plan containing a minimum of emergency escape route and evacuation procedure, procedure for those required to operate critical systems, procedures to account for people following an evacuation, headcount, rescue and medical duties, emergency reporting procedure, emergency response procedure like fire suppression, spill control, etc. Organizational responsibilities during an emergency. Each site should have a site-wide alarm and communication system which had distinctive alarm to indicate alert, evacuate and all clear. Has an easily remembered means of activation. Example, a special telephone number like an emergency number in using in various plant is regularly tested and maintained. Employees should be trained in the use of the emergency plan and regular drills carried out to test its effectiveness. Copies of the plan should be easily available to all employees. In addition to the minimum requirement, a good plan will contain the following: coordination with the local community, fire department, and other response personnel, provision for visitors, contractors, and handicapped, designated assembly areas with alternatives if needed, establishment of an emergency control center sited in a safe area, internal and external communications, where emergencies could result in serious off-site impact. Vigilance should be maintained on land use developments in the surrounding area to ensure buffer zones are sufficient for present and potential future site activities. Also, this type of reference available. Some of the reference are giving here, Canadian Standards Association. You can refer that one. It is open to public, so you will get more and more information of emergency response plan, process management during emergencies. Plans should cover management of both the process where the emergency occurs and also other processes which interact with or are near the to that process. 4.6 is encouraging client and supplier companies to adopt its similar risk management practices. The purpose of this step to minimize the risk of incident at upstream and downstream facilities and while materials are being transported between sites. This will help to reduce incidents, ensure continuity of production and avoid litigation. 4.7 is a selection of business with acceptable risk. Sometimes risk cannot be easily to be reduced to an acceptable level, or the cost of doing so is prohibitive, in which case it may be necessary to exit a business for new business of or acquisition. The situation can be avoided through a capital project review process. Thanks for watching this video. So PSM 3, hopefully PSM part 3 will be helpful for understanding capital project review and process hazards review, understanding various elements. Please review the references given here. So hopefully we will come back. We will see with the PSM 4 uh, informations, PSM 4 elements in my next video. Thanks for watching this video. Good day.